Ladies and gentlemen, did President Trump push the envelope a bit on Twitter? Sure he did. Could he have perhaps toned down his rhetoric? Maybe. Were there gas prices below $3? Was inflation below around 2% or below 2% at one point during Trump's administration? Did we have record economic growth? Did we have economic growth? Because we're going into a recession. We are going into a recession, and there's this anti-Russian hysteria and frenzy among morally superior, wonderful liberal Democrats who, coincidentally, are presiding over one of the worst catastrophes in European history, Russia invading Ukraine. It's under the watch of mashed potato brains. But you have Biden, but you have a president who perhaps was, a little bit, boisterous. He would be attacked by media and he would fight back. Now, if anyone utilized Trump's words to promote any negative thought process, that's the fault of the person with the mindless ideology. Now we get to, that's not Trump, that's also media playing up and sensationalizing everything perhaps Trump shouldn't have said or did say. Trump was a great president, but did he, was he perhaps a bit out there in terms of pushing the envelope? Okay, a little bit. That took away from him allocating more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever and making that funding permanent. Did he make specific negative statements about specific ethnic groups? No, he didn't. Actually, he made a very vague reference in 2015 that he shouldn't have made, but media took it completely out of context. He never said both sides, meaning the 1940s and 1930s Germans. No, he didn't mean that. He didn't say that they were good people. You have so many lies and distorted quotes from Trump, it's unbelievable. Getting to Jussie Smollet. Here's a man who tried to take advantage of this liberal hysteria, and you couldn't even make this up. It is probably one of the most shameful and embarrassing episodes in Hollywood history and also in American history. Jussie Smollet sentenced to 150 days in jail, probation. That's Chicago Tribune. Jussie Smollet sentenced to jail, probation for lying to police in staged crime. Okay, we have enough division in this country. You don't need to create and fabricate a crime and then blame half the country. All different ethnicities, by the way. President Trump got a greater percentage of the non-white vote than any Republican in 60 years. And then the rebuttal is, well, Bush did better. Well, okay, fine. Even if that's true, because there are two, there's Newsweek has one article, and then there's another article saying, oh, that's not true. Bush did better. Okay, other than Bush, who, by the way, had overwhelming support of media, the same media support that is going towards propping up our beloved president, mashed potato brains. So I started the segment in the manner I did because I want people to understand, yes, did Trump push the envelope? Yeah, he did. But that should not have overshadowed his accomplishments. Record low black and Latino unemployment. Poverty is going up now. We have an increase in poverty, an increase in child poverty, an increase in the wealth between rich and poor, wealth inequality. Who do you think is paying for 7.5 to 10% inflation? The working poor. Do you think Bill Gates cares? Do you think Jeff Bezos cares? Do you think the journalists at the Washington Post or CNN care? The people who are working every day, the same people that AOC and Bernard Sanders claim to champion, they're the ones paying for Biden's policies. And yes, Biden's policies directly affect oil and gas prices. And so, yes, they're it's a commodity, and you don't have a perhaps direct impact in terms of setting a price, but U.S. foreign policy definitely impacts crude oil. The president, one of the top top officials, and top CEOs in the oil and gas industry just published an article the other day in oilprices.com saying basically cut the crap and stop policies that are anti-fossil fuel. Essentially, that's I can get the it just came to my mind right now. We have 0% economic growth going into 2022. Sorry, here U.S. Oil and Gas Association president cut the crap and approve our permits. Okay, that's March 9th, 2022. It's oilprices.com. So you can't say, gosh, Biden is not to blame for gas. Well, the president of the U.S. Oil and Gas Association disagrees. Well, Biden's not to blame for crude oil prices. Well, okay, U.S. foreign policy, the botched Doha agreement, those Americans and Afghans should be alive today. Those 13 Americans should be alive today. Those 100-plus Afghans should be alive. That's directly Biden's fault. It was a May 1st, 2021 withdrawal. He just went past May 1st as if he just, didn't care, about a negotiated treaty that Trump negotiated. Trump also was the first president to step foot in North Korea. President Moon Jae-in of South Korea stated Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. Then you have the Abraham Accords. And then they say that, Putin got everything he wanted from Trump, and therefore he didn't have to invade Ukraine. That makes no sense at all. It's the most pathetic excuse for what's actually taking place. The worst fears of Trump's administration. You know who was really installed, if you want to just, make things up? Our beloved president. By Putin. He must be working for the Kremlin. Mashed potato brains, Biden. Look what's taking place. The country is in the toilet economically, and in terms of foreign policy and geopolitics, we have zero influence apparently on what goes on. So we're not stopping Russia. It doesn't matter if McDonald's and Nike and Coca-Cola and every other corporation, or you take the yachts of billionaires, or you sanction Russia because eventually they can retaliate, and they're beginning to retaliate economically. And I explain why you can't have a no-fly zone in my last segment. So please watch my last segment. But again, I want Ukraine to be free of, Russian soldiers. I want Putin to be out of Ukraine. But at the same time, I understand how NATO and the U.S. are a great deal to blame for what's going on. Lying to President Zelensky in Ukraine, which is what Biden did, saying, one day you'll join NATO, provoked all of this, fostered all of this. If you can't understand that, well, you might not know much about foreign policy. It's a very simple concept, and it's what happened. Oh, and by the way, Biden he waived sanctions on Nord Stream 2, and he told Zelensky that Ukraine could not join NATO. Anyway, we'll get back to Jussie Smollet right now. He had to fabricate a crime. That is an insidious, evil thing to do. Did Smollet think of all the children who perhaps who had parents who voted for Trump, who would then be bullied or berated in school? No, he didn't care. He's a Hollywood celebrity. He wanted to take advantage of the moment, just like a lot of Hollywood celebrities who basically derailed their careers, just focusing on how horrible Trump was, when in reality they would have embraced his rear end 5 or 6 or 7 years earlier. What he did was insidious, embarrassing, and now he's going to jail. This man he likened himself to Tupac Shakur at one point. It's like he was living in an alternate universe, paid 2 men to pretend to beat him up. And it's like how anyone could defend what he did. It's just so embarrassing. And it's like, just because, see, this is the thing. When morally superior liberal Democrats take on a cause, it turns to fertilizer that is now 200% more expensive. You can insult Trump all you want, but that didn't hurt. That didn't stop people from voting for him. Okay, because he was a good president. Okay, you could ban or sanction Russia all you'd like, but that's not going to kick Putin out of Ukraine. There needs to be a negotiated deal immediately, which unfortunately or fortunately will state categorically that Ukraine won't join NATO, which could have been achieved before they invaded. But Biden didn't want that. That's the issue. The man that Jussie Smollet and other wonderful Hollywood liberals wanted is now in office, and literally everything is turning to, like I said, the fertilizer that Russia might ban, which would cause global food prices to go up and skyrocket, along with inflation, along with oil prices, and zero economic growth. So you have stagflation. And read my article in the Federalist. We're going into a terrible, terrible, terrible market crash. I predicted all of this. Give me your thoughts below. He's going to jail. And the impact that he could have had on people, had he gotten away with this, would have been really, really horrible. He didn't think about the lives he could have affected. And you're not battling Trump by fabricating a hoax. You have Jussie Smollett pretending to be the victim of a crime. You have Democrats pretending and fabricating a hoax that Trump was installed by the Kremlin. All they do is believe lies and nonsense. And then you have PolitiFact and others say, it's a lie, it's a lie. It's like nobody has ever lied more than mainstream media when it came to Trump and Russia. It literally never happened, and it was a hoax and myth purchased by Trump's direct political rivals. The Durham probe is finding this out. They have to believe lies, and that's why they were so reluctant to realize what happened with Jussie Smollett. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. If Trump was that divisive, if he caused that much bigotry, why did Jussie Smollett have to fabricate a crime? Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now.